Already? Good. That's a Hitler tactic. Hitler would just be quiet and wait for people to like be quiet. I was just seeing how that would work. No, it does work actually. It's funny enough. It takes a minute, but if you're patient enough, they'll be quiet. But it's like he actually coined that thing of just standing there. He wait for like 15 minutes, and then he's just like, and eventually they'll all be quiet. You know. Sometimes it's much better to speak without speaking, which is what we're going to talk about next. Okay. That was more of me telling you guys about how to assert power without being overly aggressive, right? Because when you try to assert yourself in a direct manner, it shows weakness. You know. The fuck? Second. Is this recording or what? Second. It's like when you have a child, you know, the way you assert your power over a child is by giving him the look, you know? And the less you do when it comes to asserting yourself, the more power you're going to yield, all right? So that's what we're going to talk about right now. The fuck? Second. All right, let's begin this right now. Okay. So let's talk about, we're going to talk about being more assertive, but let's first speak about this aspect about embracing the masculine and the feminine. And it will easily transition us into the topic that I want to talk about, okay? Okay. All right, there you go. Okay, make sure they see the sweater. All right. So we, as human beings, when we're children, right, that's when we're really most ourselves, right? Who we are in our factory setting. You know when you get a phone and the phone is like a normal phone and it has like its settings, and then as you own the phone, you start adding qualities, you start customizing it, you start putting your picture as a profile picture. You know, when you open it, you put your picture, you know, whatever. And so you put your own ringtone and you sort of make it you. But the point is, initially, the phone was itself, right? It's the same thing with humans. As we grow older, pressures are put upon us, and we have to change part of our personality, right? And the number one thing that has to change is the conforming of gender roles, right? Because that's like the number one thing that when you're born, what happens? What the fuck is the first thing that a doctor says? It's a boy or girl, right? So it's pretty much everything, most of your conditioning is based around gender roles. And the problem with gender roles is that it forces you to lose a quality of yourself that you were innately born with. And so you don't feel complete. That's why a lot of people don't like a lot of people, because a lot of people are just not good people to be around with. They're compartmentalized, they're suppressed. Nobody likes a suppressed personality, right? So let me read the notes, right? We are born complete. We have many sides that year to come out. What the fuck? Sides that are contradicting to society and that bring pain, right? We have a lot of sides to us that's not really socially acceptable, right? And for example, boys usually are very sensitive when they're young. And girls, when they're kids, they're more assertive. They have a higher will. That's why they like changing their environment. They like to transform things. Because women, when they're children, they're more adventurous and they're more willful than boys are, you know? But as we grow, we conform to the standards of what a boy and a girl is, and we suppress that feminine, that sensitive side as guys, and that masculine and assertive and willful side as you guys are women, right? Boys lose their ability to feel. That's beautiful. Oh, that is beautiful. Oh, that is beautiful. Oh, that is great. Oh, beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Oh, that is music. That's great, right? So boys are more sensitive when they're young, right? So boys lose the ability to feel a range of emotion. Women lose their abilities to explore their assertive side, right? So they lose that exploration, and boys lose that ability to be sensible. That's why, in order to be an artist, that's why a lot of artists are, a lot of them are either bisexual or gay. Because to be an artist, you got to be able to see, to think in a feminine way. So that's why art, a lot of gay guys or some straight guys that are more feminine are gravitate towards art because they have to be able to be in touch with their emotions to create something, some work of art that's true and real. You see, so that's why a lot of artists have a feminine side to them, right? Or they're gay. So we notice this loss of our character through meeting people who are not repressed, right? You notice how much you lost that part of you whenever you either see a child, you're like, oh wow, I remember when I was like that. Or when you meet someone who's not repressed, who says their minds, you're like, wow, they just speak their minds. They don't give a fuck, right? That's why whenever women, think about it, the women who you guys admire are women who are proud sluts, women who say whatever the fuck they want to say, who free the nipple. I don't know. You know what I'm saying? There's like a certain liberty behind them. There's a certain social stigma to being them, but for some reason it doesn't hurt them, right? You admire that because that's a part of you that you felt that you lost, right? That's why I always say notice the people who you admire and why, because it either means that that's in you, or that means that who they are is part of you, but it's been suppressed. That's why when you see masters working, you admire them because you wish you could do that yourself, or maybe you know you could do that, you just don't have the discipline. You see, that's why when you see people who are great at something, you want to do it too. Am I making sense? All right. So our task, right, as people, is to hold on to the mid-range of our personality. Because when you sort of embrace, when you take on the gender roles, being a super male or feminine, you lose the mid-range. You lose those midtones. It's either you're too extreme to this or to that. Most the people who are really integrated are in the mid-range of that. You know, people who are, there's no such thing as super straight. There's no such thing as being 100% straight. You're kind of gay or you're kind of straight. But the point is, there's no such thing as somebody who's 100% straight. And if they are, they're lying to themselves. You see what I'm saying? I remember one time I thought I was gay for like 2 or 3 days. It was very tough. It was so depressing. I thought I was gay. I was like, oh my God, I can't believe I'm gay. I'm like, I thought I was straight. And it's not funny, man. It was traumatic. And the reason why I thought I was gay, it was because I would see guys. And I'm like, man, that's a good looking guy, man. And then I'm like, man, I think that's gay, you know? And he was like, that's gay, stop that, you know? Huh? Yeah. Yeah, but you know, I thought it was like a little gay. Cause I would like, oh wow, that's an attractive guy. And some guys I loved some guys because they were my friends. And I thought that was kind of gay. And then one day when I was in Google, I was Googling on Yahoo Answers and I was like, signs that you're gay, right? And they were like, if you like a guy, if you feel emotions for him, if you can see yourself being with him. And I'm like, yo, the fuck, man, I was depressed. I remember that class. I was like, damn, it was 5 p.m. at night. I was in Psychology 101. And I was like, man, I think I'm gay, man. How am I gonna tell this to my mom? And then somebody said, dude, if you think sucking dick is nasty, you ain't gay. And I'm like, okay, I'm not gay. All right? I'm like, I am not gay. I would never suck a dick. That doesn't look good to me, okay? So I realized I wasn't gay. But the point is that there was a lot of resistance in me to be gay. If I like dick, I like dick. Don't crop that out, but you know. Oh, look what he said. He's heard that part, right? But that's the point, is that because of that, I could promise you there were things that I could have done that I enjoyed that stopped me from doing it because I thought that was feminine. You know, so, and there were ways of acting that I could have acted that would have lowered people's resistance, but I didn't do because my mind is so constricted on being masculine. And no, he's not here. He'll be back. Sorry. It's all good. All right. So what we want to do is hold on or get back in touch with the mid-range of our personality, right? That's why, like, for example, like, yeah, let's keep going, right? So how do you do that, right? So you got to return, if you're a hard person inside, if you consider yourself as a hard person, you got to get in touch with your soft side. That goes for men or females. If you're somebody who's soft on the inside, you got to get in touch with your hard side. All right. So and so that's the point. This is not a one-off thing where I'm saying be aggressive, because some of you guys are way too aggressive. You know, so you can't just be doing that. So how do you do that? You learn to do the opposite. Learn to do the opposite. If you normally attack, then you defend. If you normally defend, attack. Use that as an exercise to see how things will be different. I used to do that when I was learning how to do cold approach and learn how to talk to women like just randomly, like in clubs and stuff like that. And one of the exercise was that if you had a bad night, the next night do the opposite. If you had a bad night and you were talkative, the next night don't be that talkative. You know, if you got frustrated at the fact that all the girls were rejecting you, then you know what? Approach women with that frustration. Just go up and say, you know what? Fuck it. She's not even gonna like me. Hey, I saw you and I thought you were cute. And see the difference. And sometimes you see completely different results. And then maybe that works and then that stalls out. And then you say, okay, it's not working. So let me go the other route and do the opposite. And what's gonna happen is that you're gonna slowly find, like I said earlier, you're gonna slowly find that mid-range of your personality so that you can embrace the assertive side and the soft side, the part that defends and the part that attacks. Because a lot of us are in one direction in an extreme. What you want to do is learn to be more dynamic and fluid and be more on the feminine and the masculine based on what the situation needs. Because sometimes you need to be assertive and sometimes you need to be more feminine as a guy and as a woman, right? But whenever you are stuck on gender roles, when it's time to be assertive and you see yourself as a feminine woman, you stop yourself. And then all of a sudden you find yourself in situations where guys are using you. You see what I'm saying? Make sense? All right. So if you respond slow, respond fast, and vice versa. And that goes in any part of life. If you talk fast, talk slow. If you're a slow talker, talk a little fast. You can see the difference. If you're someone who takes a long time to respond, respond a little faster. If you're a fast responder, respond a little slower. If you respond with a lot of text, respond with little text. And the opposite. Does that make sense? You gotta find that mid-range because a lot of us have lost our original selves, our original personality. And by noticing what you do and going, for example, I always say this to you guys, when you're talking to it, notice how you behave when you talk to a guy that you really like. And notice how you behave when you talk to somebody that you don't like. And then just switch them around. When you like the guy, because you observed how you act, and when you don't like a guy, act like that with a guy that you like. And you'll see huge differences. When you meet a guy that you don't like, act like how you act when you like the guy, and you'll notice that he'll get turned off, and he'll do you a favor. You see what I'm saying? Call him every day, tell him you miss him and stuff like that. No, actually, no. That you may end up doing. Don't do that. Don't do that to me. Right? So in relationships, learn to say no and see what happens. If you normally say yes a lot, learn to say no as a practice and observe the reactions, because you might be surprised. You might be surprised by how people, it's kind of like if you're afraid to stand up for yourself because people might not like you, go ahead and do it and see what happens. Have a scapegoat. Have somebody who you don't give a fuck too much about and use it on them and see what will happen. And you might notice that the reaction might be the complete opposite of what you expected. Because in reality, that your assumption of that action was really based on fear, not based on a logical understanding based on experience. You know? Okay. Can I get a witness?
That was good.
Yo, you guys don't go to church.
No.
Can I, a su nombre?
Gloria!
Santo! Que Dios reprenda el diablo. That's how the Spanish do it. I don't know if you guys know that. Cristo viene. All right.
Que Dios te reprenda.
Que Dios te reprenda. Que Dios reprenda el diablo. All right, let's keep going, man. I'm not even playing around. I was gonna say, if you take a long time to have sex with a guy, don't do the opposite there. Unless you want to, man. I'm not gonna stop. If you want to, go ahead. If you don't suck dick, give it a try. 2 guys, 2. Oh, you laughing a lot. You giggling there?
Funny dude.
All right, let's keep going, people. So yeah, that goes along with the gender roles, right? Gender roles put internal restrictions on what to do and what to think. In other words, it restricts your creativity. If you're a woman and then you start thinking of being a boss as a woman, it's not gonna work because you're gonna be passive. You're gonna be more democratic. Let's have you guys, all of us, let's see what we wanna do, all right? So you decisions that are meant for the boss because of a feminine way of leading is more incorporating everybody. And sometimes that's not how things are done. If you're a leader and you're a woman, you gotta trust your opinions more than the other people. Because naturally your instincts will want to incorporate other people's opinion. Don't do that with the big picture. Do that with small things, not the big picture stuff. So it's kind of like, don't just bring a feminine thing to everything. You gotta sense when it's time to be masculine. You gotta sense when it's time to fire someone without having a heart And that goes along with how you break up with people. When you break up with people and you do it slowly, you're gonna end up making people resent you. You gotta do it quickly and swiftly, like you're killing someone, quickly and swiftly. No mercy. Bam, right there. No, I thought you were nice and I just no. We're done, and that's that in a masculine way. That allows him to not have any hope, and he'll never bug you again. Maybe he will, but don't give people hope when you break up with them, unless you wanna fuck with them. Right? So gender roles put restriction on what to do and think, right? So that means it's kind of like if you're a guy and your purpose is art, and you say fuck that, that's for girls. And you know what? You really are missing out on your purpose because you don't want to look like a little girl. Like I said yesterday, there were some guys who were meant to be the best ballerina ever, but because they're too masculine, they'll never put on those tights. Little does he know that if you're the best ballerina in the ballerina school, oh, you'll be getting a lot of women. Oh my God, if you're the best ballerina in a ballerina school, shit, I know about that. Trust me, I almost signed up. All right, so not having gender roles allows you to bring out the different sides of your character, and the body loves that. By not wholeheartedly embracing gender roles, you bring out a part of your character and personality that was suppressed, and your body will like that. You might go too far sometimes, but the point is that you're giving your body expression. It's like when there's a canal. It's like a dam. You know, a dam. You know, like a dam, and you just hold in the water. You know, it's kind of like what the water wants to do is flow. It wants to create. There's some channels in you that you haven't given life because you're just saying I'm a woman. You know what I'm saying? There were some things that you have to do in life that you don't do because you are a woman. You know what I'm saying? And that's the same thing goes with guys. By expanding what you do and how you think, you will become more dimensional. And people will see you as more complex. You'll be less easier to understand and anticipate. And when you're not easy to anticipate, people will respect you more. But when people could predict you, people lose respect for you. You see what I'm saying? So not having gender roles. Not having gender roles allows you to tap into whatever role you need to tap into based on the situation. If I'm an artist, I can tap into my feminine. As a fighter, I can tap into my masculine, right? Having both roles integrated, you become fluid. I was gonna put like LeBron and Bird, but you guys won't understand, right? So the ability to play different gender roles gives you power. Because then, what's up?
A couple years ago, a guy told me you're hard to read, so that's a good thing.
Good, that's good, beautiful, that's a great thing. Nothing makes me happy when a woman says, I can't understand you. I'm like, oh, thank you. Say that again. What? I can't understand you. Oh, say that again one more time, please. You know, like, actually record it. Say that again. It's a beautiful thing when people can't read you. That's how you gain the respect. Napoleon and his troops, they could never read when he was going to reward them or when he was going to chastise them. So it keeps you thinking, how can I make them happy? Because you don't know what makes them happy. So you got to use a lot more mental energy. See what I'm saying? When people can predict you, that means they lose respect for you. You know?
It's like the less you say, the more they can't predict you.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
So if you don't express your way, if you don't express yourself,
yeah, it's kind of like when they know what you're gonna do. That means you're emotional and you sort of have shown your card. You know, and it's kind of like guerrilla warfare. They see you, but you don't see them. You know. Look, I tell my 3 kids this. It's kind of like I tell them like you cannot show all your classmates when you're mad or when you're angry. You know, or you cannot tell your classmates. Never mind. That's a whole different subject. My kids never listen to me. What's up?
When the guy said that to you, did you feel that was a bad thing? Initially.
I didn't know how to take it. I didn't say anything.
You
I didn't.
never responded to when he said that? Okay. Okay, explain.
What?
What if like you show like a lot of expression on your face and like lifelong? People can read it. Sometimes they like it's like a quick reaction, like maybe like
It's you can't help it. Micro
but then,
expression.
so how do you
You just
with your face? You can't.
you just like yeah
But
you
then if I keep like a resting face, everybody's like, oh my gosh.
okay.
Jeez. But like, do I keep that resting face all the time?
Look, man, not all the time,
But like,
but
when
go
you smile, it's just like
control it. Go 50%. Like just smile. Try to keep it inside, and it'll come out in slow ways. If you like that was funny, just like don't smile, and you'll smile a little bit. You know, if you try to keep it down, you cannot. The self is always coming through, but if you try to not show it, it'll show, but in subtle ways. That's all, because you can never hide it. You know, it is what it is. I'm gonna talk about that though. Okay. Let me see. All right. So it even goes if you smile a lot, stop smiling. If you talk a lot, shut the fuck up. You see, it's true. And it's kind of like, for example, with me in basketball, I used to go to the gym, and I'll be honest with you, nobody likes me when I play basketball. It's common that people every time I play basketball, they all hate me. Well, first of all, the reason why they don't like me is because I'm a very aggressive player when I play basketball. I'm very physical, very physical, and I could really lock down a lot of people, and they don't like that. They it's kind of like I talk shit. I'm like he's a walking brick. I call him. I'm like he's a walking brick. He won't score, and that pisses them off. And when they don't score, and I'm talking shit, it's frustrating to them, right? So a lot of people just don't like me when I play basketball. And I always ask myself, why don't they like me? Why am I so disliked? And I realize it's because I'm being a dick to them, and then I'm trying to be nice to them after the game. It's kind of like I'm literally embarrassing them by not scoring and literally just clowning them. And then after the game, I'm like, yo, good game, man. You know, no, if you want them to respect you, don't talk to them. Don't talk to them. After the game, you don't talk. In fact, the people who get respected the most are the people who speak less. You know, because there's nothing to say to create hate. So it's kind of like what I started doing is that when I go to the gym, I don't talk to anybody. And you know what I started noticing? Not a lot of people talk to me. I started noticing that all the interactions that I was having was filled with some hate. You know, all of a sudden, the few people that talk to me, they like me. But it reveals to you who like you or not. You know, because a lot of us, we talk to people who we don't like because they're annoying, but we talk to them. You see what I'm saying? So it's kind of like if you talk a lot, don't talk that much. And you'll see what's going on. You'll see what's wrong. That is the best way to sort of find out why people don't like you. Just start saying, okay, what are my extremes? All right, let me take away that extreme. Let me not talk that much. All right, and then see the reaction, and then find something else. Let me not smile that much. Right? For example, when I'm in school, I notice that a lot of people. It's kind of like a lot of people just use smiling as a way to say, I like you and I think you're a cool person. But it's more like a handshake. It's not really they like you. They just, hey. It's not that they like you. You see what I'm saying? So you'll sort of assume that, but when you see that, you'll notice, oh wow, this is just, they don't really care about me. They're just smiling. But then if you're insecure, you'll assume they like you. So you'll end up bothering them, being more nicer to them and talking to them. You know what I'm saying? It's almost backwards, but try to do the opposite with some traits that you have, and you'll see a big difference with your kids. If you're naturally more passive with your kids, be a little bit more assertive and see what happens. You know, if you're too assertive, go the other route and see what happens, right?
I have a question. What if you don't feel comfortable doing the opposite?
Well, go slowly. Go slowly. So for example, like when you get criticized, you tap into your inner male and you fight back, right? When you are negotiating, you tap into your inner male and you become stronger and you demand more, right? It's different parts of your character. This helps you overcome abuse and become more independent. You know, like I like to think it's one of the most useful ways to deal with a lot of the things that go wrong by just going the opposite and seeing how things happen, because that's the scientific way of discovering things, by trial and error, right? So how do you somebody said something? Okay. So how do you communicate power and assertiveness, right? It's very simple, in all honesty. I talk a lot about this on my channel, but let's talk about this, right? It's very simple. It's all about your face, right? And I learned this because if I'm teaching people and I want them to listen to me, the friendlier I am to you, the less you pay attention to me. And that's the truth. The friendlier I am to the students, the less they'll listen to me, either consciously or unconsciously. How do I know that? Because I remember I used to have, I used to have, replacement teachers. What are substitute teachers? You go like, all right, let's see if this is a bitch. You know, let's see if we could take advantage of it. Let me show you an example of that, right? Show you guys a little example of that. Because I like showing the visualness. Okay. One second, all right, people, we're done with this Instagram, YouTube thing, all right? So go buy if you want to. Don't be a freeloader.